Picture it, Los Angeles, 2026.
Welcome to Out on the Lanai, the only Golden Girls podcast you're ever going to need to listen to. I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines.
I'm Kerri Doherty / Patey Signs, and today we're doing a Beyond Golden Girls episode where we cover the many film and TV projects that the women did outside of the Golden Girls during the course of their illustrious careers. And today we're watching Betty White, Rue McClanahan, and some other Golden Girls guest stars in a 1984 episode of The Love Boat, which was recommended by Andrea.
It floats back to you. The Love Boat.
This is the weirdest show.
This show is so weird.
Ever existed in the history of all shows. I have never seen a full episode of The Love Boat. Of course, I know the theme song. I know so much about the show. I know it's had iconic guest stars over the years. I understand the lore around The Love Boat. But oh my God, I don't know who or what they were smoking when they created this show and how it worked and was on television for so long.
Yeah, I'm with you. My extent of exposure to The Love Boat is one, I don't know why, but every time I hear the theme song, do you remember in Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit? Alana Ubach sings The Love Boat. She literally sings a line of The Love Boat. Anyway, so that's number one for me. There is a Love Boat joke in the Golden Girls. Rose, at one point, Dorothy's like, "How do you know this?" And Rose goes, "It's true. I saw it on television. Peter Marshall played this microbiologist on The Love Boat, and he was conducting sinister experiments on the Landers sisters." And then I watched Below Deck, Down Under, and Below Deck Sailing Yacht. So I feel like I know a little bit about boats from that. And that's it.
And I literally don't, who was watching this show?
I don't know. But what I do know is that the tonal juxtaposition of Rue and Betty's stories in this episode of The Love Boat felt like you took an episode of 30 Rock and cut it together with an episode of Law and Order SVU.
Yeah, it is just. I have to say that cats were watching the show. Michael texted me that, and I don't know what he means by that.
Like people put it on for cats?
Maybe. I think it was for cats. It was for the pets to watch. Like his family, when we leave, and my mom does this too. When we leave the house, there's a show that you put on for the animals.
Of course, I do this with my dog too.
Do you? What show, do you have a particular show that you put on for your animals?
No, we usually just open Hulu and put on live TV, and a lot of times it'll be just like Friends or Seinfeld or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Michael's family puts on Gunsmoke.
That's so funny for the cats.
For the dogs.
For the dogs.
But no, Love Boat is like I knew it was about a boat. I knew it was about a cruising company. I knew it had, and what I think is brilliant about it is it's very Ryan Murphy in that every episode is just sort of not a new cast, but there's like half a new cast because it's people who are coming on the boat. And so it's a great opportunity to bring in new guest stars every week and to have some really awesome, I'm thinking about, in fact, today I was at, I can say this, I was at NBC Universal for a new series that's coming out on NBC soon this next year called Newlyweds, starring Téa Leoni and Tim Daly and produced by Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's in it as well. Anyway, Téa Leoni, Naked Truth, similar to The Love Boat in that, for The Naked Truth, she played a journalist at a gossip magazine, and every episode, if I'm remembering it correctly, there would be a new celebrity guest star that was playing themselves. And it was about her trying to get the story on this guest star. You know what I mean? And it was
it's what Ricky Gervais did with episodes.
Yes, with extras.
Excuse me.
And it yes, exactly. And so The Love Boat, it's a genius idea to get a lot of talent on this show. I love Naked Truth, by the way, and we can talk about that more some other day, but I loved that show. Did you watch that show?
No.
It was really great. Anyway.
Never heard of it.
It's so good. It's a 90s staple. It's just Holland Taylor was in it. It's so great. Anyway, but The Love Boat was genius in that way, but yet it also felt like something that I would watch while on shrooms.
Yeah, one thing
It
that was fun about it was it did have three different storylines with three different like series of guest actors. And yeah, it was like very soapy,
Yeah.
but funny and kind of campy. And also some of the acting was like really broad.
Yeah, but did you also notice that even though it is not a comedy series, it is not a sitcom, it is not a 23-minute sitcom, there was a laugh track.
Yeah.
Like
There were
there's
also
there's a laugh track, like there's a live audience, but there's no live audience.
there might have been if they didn't shoot like on location on a boat, like that was a set.
I don't think it was
Yeah,
it didn't say shot in front of a live studio audience.
no, yeah, come to think of it, it feels like it was shot more like a single cam show. So yeah,
Yeah.
they may have recorded the audience watching it, and that's how they got the laugh track.
But also like a laugh track for a show that is like essentially a drama, because this storyline, even though there is a funny, like there is the lighthearted bits of Betty and Carol Channing and all of that, but there are like very serious moments, like Rue being a victim of domestic violence,
I
and
know.
of
Trigger
another
warning, guys.
woman.
We're not going to talk
Yes,
a lot about it, but
it
like
is
we're
a
not going to
big
get
part
into
of the
detail.
storyline.
But
No, we don't need to.
it was a little hard to watch. But also, did anybody think to give Rue McClanahan an Emmy for this episode?
Well, I don't see. That's the thing. I don't listen. Okay, you and I are both only 28 years old, so like we were clearly not alive when this was on the air. But for anyone listening or watching who was around when The Love Boat was on television, was it taken seriously? Was it? I mean, obviously, it was like a soap, kind of, but like, was it legitimate? Do you know what I mean? Because there has to have some legitimacy to it to get the talent like a Betty White or I mean, yeah, they're not like, it wasn't like Katharine Hepburn was coming to do The Love Boat. Like, I get that. But
I
like,
feel like it probably was because think about shows that were around that time. Like think about Gilligan's Island,
yeah,
right? This feels a little Gilligan's Islandy to me.
yeah, yeah,
And it had an
yeah.
audience, you know? I do want to just quickly list the Golden Girls guest stars who are in this episode. We've
So
got
many.
Cesar Romero, who played Tony Del Vecchio. Sophia says, I love you. And he's like, and I care about you. We have Fred Willard, who played Bob Blanche's New Year's Eve date, who was also a virgin. And then we have a Golden Palace guest star in Dick
Mm.
Van Patten, who
Mhm.
played like the Ham Lushbaugh of Blanche's college years. And then there's Alan Thicke, who feels like he should have been on the Golden Girls at some point, but he wasn't. But he's so charming in this episode. But
He is so charming.
the biggest guest star, the person who should have absolutely been on the Golden Girls playing like Betty White's sister is Carol Channing. Because
My God.
my God.
There were moments. There were moments. You know what? We're just going to start this clip party right now, because there's one moment. We're not going to play the full clip, but I want you right now to see the outfit in which and how Carol Channing is using a typewriter. We'll explain this moment later in the episode. There'll be a whole thing, but just watch this woman type right now.
Aunt Sylvia, there's not one intelligible word on this page.
Maybe not, but there are enough letters there to make almost any word you want.
Okay, describe for anybody who's not watching the video version, describe what just happened.
Carol Channing was typing as if she had just figured out how to use her arms and fingers and decided to have the first thing that she was going to do with these new parts of her body was going to be to type. Like it was
it's the cat playing the keyboard. That's what it is.
It is a woman who, and then of course you see the paper and it's just gibberish. It's just like whatever. Oh my God, Carol Channing and Betty White. The fact that Betty White was the straight man to Carol Channing. And Carol Channing's outfits in this episode would literally be appropriate today for some woman in Silver Lake. Like, she was, oh my God, watch this. You can watch this episode of The Love Boat on Pluto, but you can also watch it on Paramount Plus if you have Paramount Plus. That's how I watched it. And it's available for purchase in all of those places as well. You should definitely watch it because, yes, it's a great episode featuring the women from the Golden Girls, but it also is just like Carol. We need to talk more about Carol Channing.
Also, with every scene, Carol Channing and Betty White's wardrobe became like more and more fabulous to the point where like every time they finished a scene, I was just so excited to see the two of them in the next scene because I knew their outfits were going to be even more elegant and fabulous and weird and colorful and geometrical.
It is just, and also this is going back just the show in general. I'm obsessed with the opening credits to this show because they are so long.
It's so really long.
Like it is like over a minute of television for these credits because they do it in a way that not only do they actually show a video, like a posed shot video of the talent that is guest starring that week, but then they also show the regular cast that is also on the show. So this episode had a lot of guest stars. Fred Willard even though he wasn't necessarily a massive actor at the time, he got a title card episode or a title card in the opening credits.
I imagine it must have been fun watching The Love Boat because, at the beginning, you're like, ooh, who are the fun guest stars we're going to see this week where, like, they weren't a surprise.
No.
They weren't, they were shown right off the top. Like, here's who you're going to see this week. Also, just one more thing before we take a break and jump into this episode. I don't know if you noticed this. Maybe this was intentional, but I feel like this show, they were trying to capture, I feel like, at least in this episode, the male gaze, I assume, because there were so many shots of women in bathing suits, like, like slowly walking up the stairs in the background. At one point, there was a shot where we start on a woman emerging like Phoebe Cates coming out of the pool. Or like the
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation,
or the woman in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. We start from her coming out of the pool. We follow her. She gets out of the pool. She puts on a towel. She walks away. We follow her. And I was like, oh, fun. We're going to start a new story. Nope. She just walks by Rue McClanahan, and then we just settle on Rue sitting at a table. I was like, oh, they made a meal out of that woman coming out of the pool.
Yes, they did. Yeah. Now, what year did this episode air? I forget. What
84.
So we're like
84.
We're on the brisk of the Golden Girls. And like, what's so interesting about Rue McClanahan and Betty White in this stage is, Mama's Family just got canceled, I believe. Like, we're right at just being canceled. So both of them had previously been on NBC with Mama's Family. And I think it was NBC. I'm pretty sure it was NBC. And so they were fresh out of work, basically, but they were doing this guest star on, and then also Rue, likely, I think it was the same year, had done her episode of Murder, She Wrote as well. I think that was like 84, right before Golden Girls. So lots of guest stars this year for these women.
Yeah, and Betty and Rue didn't cross paths in this episode, but presumably just from working in, they knew each other, obviously.
They had worked together because they were sisters, or they were Rue was Betty's aunt, which is wild.
Yes, on Mama's Family.
On Mama's Family. And so they definitely had worked together.
Yeah, of course. But they did not cross paths in this episode. But if you do want to find it to watch it, which you absolutely should, it's season 7, episode 14, and every episode has 3 titles because of the 3 different stories, which is also so wild and must have like taken up so much space in the TV guide. How Do I Love Thee / No More Alimony / authoress. So that's the name.
And on the Rusty Anchor Happy Hour today, I will be talking a little too much about my desire to go on a cruise. I want to go on a cruise, and I want to talk with you about cruising.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have a little bit of a fun, unhinged Rusty Anchor happy hour this week. I've got some funny little Oreo stories. Oh my God, she's doing a bit lately that is crushing in this household. And also I'm gonna complain about a pastry situation that happened today.
Yes.
So yeah, lots of
Yes.
complaining. That's happening over at in the Rusty Acre Happy Hour over on Patreon, which you can check out patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast for bonus episodes, interviews, bonus interviews with cast and crew of the Golden Girls, live watch along parties, all the good stuff. Check it out. Support the podcast. Should we take a break and then get into this wild ride of a television
Uh-huh.
episode?
I am ready to lose my shit.
Okay, so we can start with Rue's story. In this episode, she plays Laura, a woman who's married to a man named George. Fun. And he's played by Dick Van Patten.
Yeah.
And she, which also everybody knows, I feel like, as Princess Vespa's dad, King Roland on Spaceballs. That's where I mostly know him from.
Actually, he was the dad, I believe, on the television program. I think it was two. Yeah, television program for like 5 years on Eight is Enough.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
he
watch
was
it.
also the father of the what's his name, Vincent Van Patten, who was married to Eileen of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Don't watch that either.
It was
Fascinating fact. Someone cares.
And he was Dick Van Patten was a big deal. He also did
yeah.
I think he did like a lot with animal groups. Like he had like a dog food or something that gave money back to. I mean, he was like a big and he did commercials for like toys and shit. He was like a big dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, he's a total piece of shit in
Oh,
this
yeah.
episode of The Love Boat.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're a couple, they're on a vacation. He's waiting to find out if like a big business deal's gonna go through.
Yeah.
And while he's waiting to hear, they're doing this cruise. And when they run into the captain of the ship, we learn that he actually grew up with Rue, with Laura, and they're kind of old friends. And it's clear that like the husband's a little jealous of their relationship.
Yeah, he's being playful about it, but there's something there.
Yeah, especially when she immediately reveals that she has a black eye under her sunglasses and is like, I'm clumsy.
Which is just but reveals is like not even it. It's like the bruise is so big that the sunglasses don't even cover it. Like bruise is just on her face. It is shocking.
Yeah, and it's pretty obvious right away, I feel like, to everybody what really happened, but they don't reveal it until like the very end. I do quickly want to talk about Blanche's wardrobe in this scene that we're about to watch. She's wearing this like gorgeous red dress. The color is Rue. The color, what did I say?
Blanche's.
I said Blanche, Jesus Christ. Well, okay, so it's because the dress that she's wearing, the color is very Blanche, but the cut of it is very Rose, like there's not enough cleavage.
Yes.
And also her haircut, I feel like it's shorter than when the Golden Girls started. So I feel like this haircut is what kind of grew out to be what we know as Blanche's
it definitely
pilot episode
is
hair.
because on Mama's Family, she had a really tight bob. Like I believe it was even permed. It was like tight in there. So like her hair, she was growing out after Mama's Family for sure.
All right. Well, let's play this clip just because it's fun to hear, to see Rue in a different role and also to hear her call her husband George. There's something really sweet about that.
Difficult to recognize you behind those sunglasses. You look lovely, Laura. You haven't changed a bit.
Except I wasn't walking into doors in those days. I didn't have this.
What a nasty bruise.
Oh, no, it's nothing. It happened almost 2 weeks ago.
We have a deep, dark secret. This beautiful, bewitching creature is accident-prone. She's also full of surprises. Picking a cruise commanded by your old flame?
Oh, hardly an old flame, George. Not even a spark. No, Laura and I are just old friends from the same hometown. Part of her group that used to hang around together.
Sure, that's what they all say. I'm going to keep an eye on you anyway.
George. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Difficult to recognize you behind those sunglasses.
Oh.
You look lovely, Laura. You haven't changed a bit.
Except I wasn't walking into doors in those days. I didn't have this.
But a nasty bruise.
Oh, no, it's nothing. It happened almost 2 weeks ago.
We have a deep, dark secret. This beautiful, bewitching creature is accident-prone. She's also full of surprises. Taking a cruise commanded by your old flame?
Oh, hardly an old flame, George. Not even a spark. No, Laura and I are just old friends from the same hometown. Part of her group that used to hang around together.
Sure, that's what they all say. I'm going to keep an eye on you anyway.
George.
Bye-bye.
There's so much music.
There's a lot of music.
There's a lot of instrumental music that people are just talking over, and it feels very like a director who couldn't make a good movie was like, well, I'm going to make television cinematic. And like everything has an orchestral sort of like accompaniment to it. And it's just sort of like, let's let them talk.
I feel like that's what kind of makes it feel soapy. I didn't mind the music so much. What really kind of like made me feel a little uneasy in that scene is the two men are smiling so awkwardly in that scene. They're smiling like too much. And there's also something about the way they deliver their lines that is, it's just, there's just something different about it where he's like, hardly old flames wasn't even a spark. It's like kind of transatlantic, but not quite. I just can't quite put my finger on it. It's
you're
interesting.
right. You're right. There is something though about, what I love about Rue McClanahan as an actress is, and I think we see actually two very different styles of acting from both Rue McClanahan and Betty White in this episode, because like we haven't been introduced to Betty yet, but like Betty is Betty. She's like showwoman Betty. Like she's just being Betty in the best way possible. But Rue is taking lines that, let's be real, pretty hokey, pretty cheesy, and being like, I'm walking in the doors, like, whatever, like no one believes that girl. And yet she sells it. Like there's a naturalness to like how Rue McClanahan delivers a line, even when the line is not good. And yet somehow she makes it watchable.
Yeah. Or like, not even not good, but just a little,
it's basic.
Or just unnatural. Like sometimes the way that they speak, and again, maybe it was of the time, again, because we're only 20 years old. Also, I don't know if you noticed this, she's wearing her blue contacts in this show.
Well, that was something that we learned from the deep dive into Rue McClanahan's life, that like she would often on television wear her blue contacts because she liked the way her eyes looked with it and really brought attention to her. And so the blue contacts were a staple of, I think, a lot of her work on television.
Yeah. Do you want to just kind of go through Rue's storyline and then get to Betty's, or should we jump over to Betty's for a bit and then kind of come back to Rue?
No, I mean, I think maybe we save what happens with Rue for the end.
Okay.
But essentially, Rue's character and the ship captain have a history together, and the ship captain is getting the hint that she's not just walking in the doors. There's a conflict going on here between this couple. And over the course of the sailing that they do, I suppose you call it that. That's the term they use in the cruising world, right? Rue,
but this isn't a sailboat. So
is it not called sailing? Is it called cruising? Because that feels inappropriate.
Are they shipping? Are they chartering? Are they?
They're enjoying the buffet. That also sounds like a euphemism. But so over the course of the episode, the man becomes, her husband, George, becomes increasingly not only just jealous, but also frustrated because a work deal doesn't go through. For whatever reason, he's a dickhead and he takes it out on Rue's character, and the violence becomes more apparent. We don't see any violence, thankfully, but like, we do. No, we do. We do. You're right. Yes, you do. There's a cinematic thing where you see some violence, but then of course it mostly happens behind a door. Thank God. But
Yeah, so
still,
maybe if there's anybody who's like, oh, that's not for me, then maybe skip
it's
those
jarring. I mean,
scenes.
as someone who has a family history of spousal abuse, it is like, even just like, recently with that whole Max Miller scandal that's happening in Congress, like watching that interview, I literally had to talk to my therapist afterwards because it's so jarring to hear someone talk like that on television. And so, like, even watching this, even though it wasn't graphic and I could watch it, it's still really hard to watch. It's like,
It's a little bit hard to watch.
yeah.
But we will, how about then? Well, yeah, we'll pick up her story when, when she's like, fuck this guy. Because
But don't even say, because
kind of,
yeah, okay,
I know. We'll get to it. So, we're not going to talk about Alan Thicke's story really because Betty and Carol Channing, there's just so much great stuff. But
talk about Alan Thicke's hair because he got a thick head of hair,
and his name is Alan in the show. So what I thought was really funny, so Alan Thicke's story, which I really liked, it was fun. He has this ex-wife and he pays alimony to her every month. And she's been engaged a couple times and it's always fallen through. And she's now once again engaged to Fred Willard, who's a shoe salesman. And he's on this boat to make sure she marries Fred Willard because once she does, he won't have to pay her alimony anymore.
Which is just so skidsy.
I mean, look.
It's a little stalkery.
So, we end up finding out that Fred Willard is like a total cheater. And then Alan Thicke has like a crisis of conscience where he's like, oh, I don't know if I should tell her because I really want her to get married. And he eventually does tell her and then it's fine. But one thing about my one takeaway from Alan Thicke's story is he is constantly unloading his drama onto like 3 or 4 crew members at a time while like phones are ringing off the hook in the background. And I was like, does anybody work on this boat? Like they all stand around shooting the shit with him the entire time.
Yeah, no, there's that Fred Willard. You don't get the Fred Willard that we got later in his life from this episode of The Love Boat. He's still very entertaining and is a great actor, a great comedy actor, but there's
his switch is good. It's very Kaiser Soze where he's like a bumbling like, well, I'm a shoe salesman, and then he's like, hey, check out that hot, sexy chick over there. It's like it was kind of a fun turn for me.
So crazy.
Okay, so let's talk about Betty and Carol Channing's story. So Betty White plays Betsy Boucher, a famous Broadway star who's writing a book about her life in show business. And as it turns out, there is a successful publisher on the boat who specifically publishes celebrity autobiographies, played by Cesar Romero. So
crazy.
And Carol Channing plays her best friend, who she's also the aunt of like the activities director of the ship. And so they're like the two of them together are going to run a scheme to get this guy to want to publish Betty's book.
You know what I don't understand in the I was texting a friend. I watched this last night, which is crazy because I usually watch the same day, but I was very busy today. And I was texting a friend who is obsessed with, these things like we are. And I was like, why didn't they just make Carol and Betty sisters? Like, why? Like they had a relationship of being sisters and it just felt like they were sisters. And towards the end, the whole time I assumed they were sisters, and at the end, I learned because of a piece of dialogue that they actually weren't sisters. But like, they just felt like sisters the whole time.
They did. They kind of gave sisters vibes,
and it would have made like what comes later in the middle of the episode. It would have made that a lot better if I knew they were sisters. You know what I mean? Like it would have just like they have this whole lifetime of stories and performing together that like could be fun to watch. But whatever, it was good. It's cute.
So I do want to play a clip and also just look at Betty's outfit in this scene. It's absolutely amazing. So this is them like trying to run a scheme where Betty approaches or Betty just kind of sits down next to Cesar Romero and has Carol Channing come up to her. It's really, really fun. Let's watch this scene.
Well, before we watch the scene, yes, Betty's outfit is incredible. But then look at Carol Channing's outfit because it is also just incredible.
Is this chair taken?
No, it's all yours.
There you are. I've been looking all over the ship for you.
Yes, Sylvia? What is it?
Well, I just called your answering service, and they have a very urgent message for you from a big Broadway musical producer. He wants you to star in his new show.
Well, maybe I'll call him back and maybe I won't. Who is it?
Who is it? You mean who's calling?
Yes, who is the big Broadway producer who wants me to star in his musical?
Gilbert Hartman, the big Broadway musical producer. Gilbert Hartman.
If I were you, I wouldn't bother to call him back.
Oh, wouldn't you? Why not?
Because Gilbert Hartman died 2 years ago.
Betsy, I told you to get a new answering service. This one takes forever to give you your messages.
Your messages. Oh, I love her.
There is. Did you know? This is a fun fact for you, and then we can go to break in a minute. But did you know that Carol Channing is actually African American?
What? No.
Yes. Carol Channing, it's a fascinating history that she kept mostly private for most of her life. I believe her father was black. I forget exactly the dynamics here, but this is it. Her mother was black, excuse me. So his birth certificate, his mother was black. No, I guess her father, excuse me. So her mother, born in Seattle. Sorry, I just want to read this to get this correct. The only child of Adelaide, and George Channing. Adelaide Channing was of German Jewish ancestry, and George Channing, born George Christian, whatever, changed his surname for religious reasons before Carol's birth. His birth certificate listed him as colored. His mother was black, and his father was German American. So George Channing became whatever. So yes, so she but because she has relatives that are darker skinned than she is, but she was very, very, very light skinned, and she was able to pass in a time in Hollywood history where that obviously was very important for her career, unfortunately. And fortunately for her career, but unfortunately because she had to do that. Anyway, she has this really interesting history that and a lot of, there's a lot of performers in Hollywood back in the early days of Hollywood that have that similar history. Really fascinating though. And it only came out later in life. And I think there might be an interview with her or something where she mentioned it briefly towards the end of her life. But yeah, it really wasn't revealed until much, much later.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. Carol Channing, Hello Dolly fame. For anyone who doesn't understand the brilliance that is Carol Channing, Hello Dolly, Thoroughly Modern Millie, like she actual literal Broadway icon, did so many performances of Hello Dolly. She was a singular talent and unique presence, and she's just incredible. And she never really changed her look. She always had the different kind of look and sound and everything, and I love Carol Channing so much.
Well, I also love Carol Channing, but I also have a couple things I want to talk about Betty with this clip that we just watched. But let's take a break and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about Betty as well.
Yes.
In that clip, so Betty's style, like it's unlike anything any of the Golden Girls ever wore. If you weren't able to watch the clip, she's wearing this like pink and black kind of satiny, almost like polka dot thing. Like later she's dressed like Fred from the Scooby-Doo gang, but like elegant. Their outfits just get increasingly more elegant. She's wearing like a sparkly gown later.
Yeah. You know why I think that is? Carol Channing was a lot like Diane Keaton, I guess, in that no one was really dressing Carol Channing. She was dressing herself. It was her style that was coming out. And of course they were paying for it, but like it was her style that was coming out. And I think in a way, Betty's outfits had to be dictated by the flamboyancy of Carol Channing's outfits, because it needed to match. You needed to match this energy. And Betty White's supposed to be the famous one here. So like there's an elegance to her, an elevated elegance that she needs to convey in both her style, the way she speaks. I mean, you hear it in that clip when she's talking to this guy, like her voice becomes very sing-songy and that just becomes whatever. And she needs to match the elegance of the comedy foil that is Carol Channing, both with what she says, but also how she holds herself and her looks and the way she does things and like all of those things.
I also felt like there was a deliberate attempt as the episode goes on and the women continue to try harder to impress Cesar Romero, this book publisher. They're just dressing more elegant and fancy and sort of rich and like to sort of like really up the, like I'm incredibly successful and wealthy. And also just from watching that clip, it's really fun to see Betty White playing a stuck-up celebrity, even if she's faking it. It was just kind of like a fun shade to Betty.
You know what I just realized about that typing moment that I didn't connect before, but now after saying Carol Channing's history, I get it. I think it's a reference to Thoroughly Modern Millie, because there's a very famous scene or bit of Thoroughly Modern Millie where they're typing and they're doing their whatever, and I think that might be a nod to her in Thoroughly Modern Millie, which is wild because her most famous thing is Hello Dolly. So I'm surprised they didn't do that, but whatever. If that is a reference, that's a really deep cut reference that I love.
It was really fun to watch your face light up as you discovered that.
I know. Well, because when I mentioned Thoroughly Modern Millie, I was like, wait, did that happen in Thoroughly Modern Millie? And then I Googled it right quick. And yes, indeed it did. Yeah.
So, obviously that one attempt to impress Caesar didn't work. So then later they show up to dinner. This is when Betty's dressed in like a sparkly navy blue, gorgeous gown with like the most beautiful statement necklace. And Carol Channing arranged for them to sit at the captain's table with Cesar Romero. And Carol's like, okay, Betty, I'm not even gonna try to do her voice, but she's like, okay, you should tell your funny story from your book about that time you were stranded in Buffalo. And before she can tell it, the captain, and this felt so funnily forced to me, but the captain was like, so, Cesar Romero, I really enjoy those celebrity autobiographies you publish. And Cesar Romero's like, thanks, but they're kind of annoying because like every celebrity thinks they should write a book, like they've got something interesting to say. And every single one of them starts off with a story about the time they got stranded in Buffalo. And it's like, what are the odds?
Wow. Now I'm trying to wait. No, that wasn't in Buffalo. Wait, where did Hello Dolly take place? Hello Dolly location. That was also in New York. And I feel like Hudson Valley, maybe not Buffalo then. So I'm thinking like maybe there's more references here because I can't.
You're looking for them. I love that.
I can't even with this. Wait, is this where? This isn't where they perform. This is where
they perform. So
this is where. So there's
yes. Go ahead. Set it up.
There's it's like a typical cruise dinner or whatever, and then of course Rue's in the audience and everyone's just like watching the entertainment, and the cruise director Vicky, I think her name, I forget her woman's name, but Vicky, whatever, the cruise director was out there, and she announced that we have this celebrity in the audience and
this Broadway star
and her friend who's also a performer. What was Carol's background?
I don't know. They never say, so it's like kind of surprising when they get up and sing together.
But they're both Betty and Carol are sitting there with shawls on and like they're completely covered, and there's like this white sort of whatever, and as the woman is announcing and asking them to perform, they're both being like, no, we possibly can't, and then they take off their shawls like, we can't. It's basically like Kristen Wiig on SNL being like, don't make me sing, and I there's a little bit of the clip. We obviously can't play the full clip because of the music situation, but I wanted to play the little bit of them acting like, no, we can't possibly perform. Hit it. Like
It's so good. I was literally texting you last night. I was like, please tell me we can play a part of this. And you were like, we can't.
We can't play like any of the song, but we can play this. I believe we can. We might get in trouble, but this little bit.
Do you want to tell them what they sing?
Afterwards.
Wait them to come up and do a number for us. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Miss Sylvia Duval and Miss Betsy Boucher.
I'm so embarrassed.
What do we do?
I don't know. Hit it.
Okay, so yeah,
Can't afford it.
They cannot afford it. Now, what's funny about this song, I don't know. Like, I know you're a straight woman, Kerri. I know you are. And I get that's a syndrome you suffer from. I know that. But when you texted, and I want to get the exact words that you said, because when you texted about this song, and you said, so they sing Together Wherever We Go by Bette Midler.
I had to Google it. I had to look up I typed in the lyrics, and that's what came up.
Immediately turned into gay Wikipedia and was like, well, yes, Bette Midler did perform in the television film of Gypsy in the 90s, but that is from Gypsy, and many other famous people like Ethel Merman have sang Together Wherever We Go from Gypsy. So I love that you attributed it to Bette Midler, even though it's from Gypsy.
Well, blame Google, because I was watching. I was trying to figure out what they were singing. I didn't know if you had watched it yet. I've got babies screaming, probably.
No, I get it. No, that again, you suffer from a straight syndrome. Like, and I get it. You have children literally wailing in the background. There is no remedy for your straightness. But that said, it is from Gypsy, which is obviously an incredible musical. Literally my favorite Broadway. I've seen a lot of Broadway in my life, and living in New York and then going back. Of course. And I just have. And it's just a reality. I'm not it's not a brag. It's just real. That said, the most iconic moment I've ever experienced watching a Broadway show, and it gives me chills even thinking about it, is Patti LuPone in Gypsy. The fact that I saw that, and that, because Gypsy is arguably one of the best musicals to have ever been done, ever, in the history of all musicals. It is just, and that's not just me, it is regarded as one of the best musicals, West Side Story, etc., like the best musicals of all time. And of course, the woman who plays the parts, like Bette Midler in the television film, not the best version, even though I love you, Bette. But Ethel Merman, Angela Lansbury. There's a wonderful clip going around. This is a little Gypsy history, but there's a wonderful clip. Now, Carol Channing never did Gypsy, I don't think. At least not on Broadway. But there's a wonderful clip going around of Angela Lansbury watching herself sing Rose's Turn. There's video of it. There's very little video of Angela Lansbury, and there's zero video of Ethel Merman doing this play or this musical. And you see Angela Lansbury watching herself, this very rare clip of her singing Rose's Turn, which is that song that is it's just an incredible song, and only the best performers can do that kind of song. It's like in Dreamgirls, and I'm telling you, it's that level of a song. And Angela Lansbury is like getting emotional because she's never really seen herself do that. And she's seeing something that isn't her. She's seeing something mesmerizing, which we all experience, which everyone who was so lucky to see someone perform that song live was so lucky to watch and see that miracle happen in front of you. And she's able to see it, and she gets emotional watching it. And and so that was me watching Patti LuPone do that on Broadway. It's like you have that Bernadette Peters, and then most recently Audra McDonald in the most recent Broadway version. I mean, literally, it is a musical that only the best of the best do. It is just Gypsy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the little lesson.
Yes, Gypsy is so important. Listen to one of the cast recordings and just try to just soak it in.
All right, will do.
Yeah.
So Betty and Carol Channing are hoping that through this performance, Cesar Romero will, I don't know, they're just trying to get his attention, I guess, because ultimately they want to him to publish Betty's book.
Mhm.
So this performance actually backfires when Carol Channing is standing like on the balcony of the ship and like the moonlight is like hitting her, and Cesar Romero comes out and he's like, hey, I'm actually more interested in you. Maybe you want to write a book. And in this moment, he reminds me of Tony Del Vecchio. Like Sophia was right. He is Bad News Bears. And at first, Betty's really mad at Carol Channing because she's like, no, I'm supposed to be the one writing the book. Until that moment where we see Carol Channing try, like she's like, I can't write when, like when she's like smashing the keyboard. So Betty's like, let's write the book together. Let's collaborate. So then they start writing the book on the ship, which I didn't realize was an expectation that Cesar Romero had. Because like at one point he comes up to Carol Channing. He's like, okay, I read your first chapter. And I was like, oh, they don't even have a deal in place. They are just writing this book on the boat. So he tells Carol Channing, he keeps like trying to invite her back to his cabin. And he's like, this book needs more sex. Maybe you can come back to my cabin. And she was like, no, thanks. We'll just write about more sex. And then so they like make up all these funny stories about like the two of them and like all these like sexy stories that aren't real. And they show it to Cesar Romero and he's like reading the pages and he was like, oh my gosh, I love this. Hicks in the South are going to love this. And I guess Carol Channing's family's from the South. So she's like, oh, that's insulting. No, thank you. We don't want to publish the book. And Betty's like, my family's from New York City, but no, I don't want to publish this book anymore. So like, just because he says Hicks from the South are going to love this. And they just immediately abandon their dreams. And Betty abandons her dreams of having a book published.
It is just, them together is just so worth every second of watching this episode. It is, oh God, and Cesar Romero's skin is just like leather.
Yeah. He's got a good tan.
He's got a face of a Prada bag. It is just like something that I want to just carry around with me, you know?
I thought at one point they were going to do something where he's like, yeah, I want your book. But then he's like really trying to just sleep with Carol Channing and that like Betty White was going to like rescue her and be like, get out of here. You know, like that's where I thought it was going to go. But no, they totally were going to have that book deal and they were just going to write a bunch of lies and he was just going to publish it without fact checking any of it.
Yeah.
But then it never happens. So that's just kind of the end of that's the end of their story, I guess.
But my God, Carol Chan, all of the outfits of Betty and Carol in this episode are just so perfect. Now, Rue's storyline wraps up in a more frustrating way. Because there is this moment of confrontation over George's behavior. And she confronts him saying, you need to take care of yourself. You need to get help for what you're doing. And he hears it. He does hear it. And when the ship docks and they're getting off, or is that, I think that's
in Puerto Vallarta, where you just were.
They went to Puerto Vallarta.
They went to Puerto Vallarta.
Maybe she's on her way to the naked beach like I was.
Maybe.
Did I tell you that story? I think I did. But she doesn't necessarily say she's leaving him, which, listen, I get marriages are complicated, but when someone gives you a black eye like that, it's kind of a red flag. And anyway, she doesn't say she's leaving him, but she does say that like she's going to go stay with her sister. I think it was her sister, and he's going to go get the help that he needs. And she's hopeful that maybe a different story of their marriage can unfold later on. Bitch, leave now.
I know. I hate it. Like, I really just wanted her to be like, George, why don't you get off in Puerto Vallarta? And then I wanted her to like tell because it's clear that her and the captain, even though he respects that she's married, it's very clear that the two of them have a thing for each other. And I really wanted her to stay on that boat with him because he felt like a safe person. And the fact that she didn't, it kind of gave me the feeling of when like Blanche dumped Jake, where I was like, you've just made a huge mistake. But then I
just saw Jake in an episode of Cheers and it made me happy.
Yeah.
That's it.
I could see him sitting at the bar with that little nose tattoo, drinking chowder out of a bowl.
Well, he wasn't drinking chowder, but yes, he was at the bar.
Yeah.
And made me happy. Anyway. No, it's disappointing. Rue's storyline is disappointing. But like, listen, I commend the Love Boat for documenting spousal abuse on domestic violence on television, especially on a show like The Love Boat with a laugh track. Like I commend them for doing that. But
just watch Rue's performance when like the captain comes to her and he like sees that she's in pain and she was like, no, like I'll handle this myself. Please leave. You'll make it worse. When she kind of confronts her husband and she's like, I need to be loved. I can't live in fear. Like, again, it's just like the most beautiful performance. So, if this is something you feel like you can watch, watch for her performance because it really is a touching perforance.
We love it. This is a great episode of television. Bonkers, batshit crazy. And my golden takeaway.
It's so crazy.
Will be
so
a part.
Crazy.
That's a part of my golden takeaway. So let's take a break and we'll come back with our golden takeaways.
Okay.
Thank you. And we are back with our golden takeaways, which is a nugget of truth or inspiration that you can apply to your life or the lives of our listeners. Kerri, what's your golden takeaway from this episode of television?
I really love the fake it till you make it notion that Betty kind of had where, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not even just like fake it till you make it to try to like get something from someone, but I feel like also it's in the way that you can carry yourself, with a certain type of confidence. I feel like
that's been half my career. That's been literally half my career is just acting like I belong in spaces I don't.
Yeah, like just acting like you're a badass bitch wherever you go. And I feel like, people are going to see you and be like, oh, that person must be a badass bitch who's like really important.
That's what I say every time a young comic or anyone young who's going into comedy talks to me, and they ask for advice, or like it happened recently with someone who wants to do like some journalism stuff. I always tell them like, literally, I did stand up in order to be good at everything I needed to be good at. And it gave me the confidence, even if I wasn't confident, it gave me the confidence to stand on my own and to act like I have confidence when maybe there's doubts, there's whatever. Like people who know me know there's whatever. But like, if you see me doing something, you're not going to see me doubting myself. I'm going to be very confident in what I'm doing. And that I think has been sort of the key to me figuring out how to do what I do is just having the confidence in myself to know I know what I'm doing here. I feel confident in this corner of what I can do. And I'm also confident about things I can't do. That's very real. Like that's the other thing that I think I learned too, is that like when you learn quickly to be upfront about things you cannot do. And if you allow other people who are good at those things to do those things, you will be better at what you do. And like confidence is everything. It really is. Yeah. My golden takeaway from this episode is I think that there needs to be more batshit crazy guest star led driven television programs that don't have Ryan Murphy involved in them. Because right now it is like every executive is like, oh, that gay guy, he gets it. Let's let him do that show with all the guest stars. Ryan Murphy does not need the exclusive pass to having people like Ariana Grande on a sitcom. Like I get Ryan Murphy's great, but like I want more creatives to be like, let's do a television series that every week there's just basically a new cast. Like, let's just do that. Or whatever it is. Like, bring a variety show back or bring a whatever it is. Like, I just want more batshit crazy television. Because this, what we just watched, is the definition of batshit crazy television. And it was really enjoyable, even though it was batshit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This is a wild ride, man. Well, that's it for Out on the Lanai this week. We will catch you all back here next week for more Golden Girls greatness, and definitely check us out over on Patreon, patreon.com/Golden Girls Podcast, and definitely watch this episode of The Love Boat.
Oh yeah, go watch it. Paramount Plus or anywhere else. You can buy it too. And we're also part of Moguls of Media. So go support them. You can follow us on social media at Golden Girls Pod on Twitter, Out on the Lanai Official on Instagram, Golden Girls Pod on Facebook, and I am HAlanScott / Sadie Pines on everything.
And if you want to do something else nice for the podcast, you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcast so that more people can discover us and join our kick-ass community of Golden Girls fans.
Oh, God. And remember,
as always,
stay golden.
Stay golden.
Oh, my God. Stay golden?
Out on the Lanai is not endorsed by Whit Thomas Harris Productions, Touchstone Television, Disney, or any of its subsidiaries. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only.
All names, pictures, audio, and video clips of the Golden Girls are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.